Hello, it's Librarian Alex and time for the second part of Freckle Juice by Judy Blume. Oh, there it is, I had my finger over the title. We're on chapter 3 and Andrew now has the secret recipe and it's the end of the school day. Andrew ran all the way home. Then he remembered he had to go to Mrs. Burroughs' house to get the key. The secret recipe for Freckle Juice was folded carefully in the bottom of Andrew's shoe. He was going to put it inside his sock, but he was afraid if his foot got sweaty, the ink might blur and he wouldn't be able to read it. So, inside his shoe was safe enough. Even if it was windy, nothing could happen to it there. He made up his mind not to read it until he got home. He didn't want to waste any time getting there. And he wasn't the world's fastest reader anyway, even though he'd gotten better since last fall. Still, there might be some hard words that would take a while to figure out. Andrew pressed Mrs. Burroughs' doorbell. "Hello, Andrew," she said when she opened the door. "You're home from school early." "I ran all the way," panted Andrew. "How about some milk and cookies?" Mrs. Burroughs asked. "No, thank you. I just want the key." "Well, come in, Andrew. Your mother's in the living room." Andrew followed Mrs. Burroughs. His mother was dealing 4 piles of cards. "Hi, Mum. I came for the key." "Manners, Andrew, manners. Don't you say hello to all the ladies?" Mrs. Marcus asked. "Oh, hello," Andrew said. Mrs. Marcus reached for her purse. She opened it and gave Andrew the key. "Now change your clothes and play outside. I'll be home by 4 o'clock. That only gave him an hour. He hoped the recipe didn't say to cook anything. He wasn't allowed to turn on the stove or the oven. Andrew dashed to his house, unlocked the front door and took off his shoe as soon as he was inside. He pulled out the secret recipe and sat down on the floor and read it. It said, now actually I'll just show you the piece. This has actually got the recipe written out in Sharon's handwriting. I think I might use Sharon's voice. "Sharon's secret recipe for Freckle Juice. 1 glass makes an average amount of freckles. To get like Nikki Lane, drink 2 glasses. Mix up all these things together, stir well, and drink fast. Grape juice, vinegar, mustard, mayonnaise, juice of 1 lemon, pepper and salt, ketchup, olive oil, and speck of onion. P.S. The faster you drink it, the faster you get freckles." Andrew read the list twice. It didn't sound like much of a secret recipe. His mother used those things every day. Of course, she didn't use them all together. Maybe that was the secret part. Well, he'd paid 50 cents, he might as well find out. He climbed up on the kitchen counter so he could reach the cabinets. He found everything except the lemon. That was in the refrigerator. And the onion. Mrs. Marcus kept onions in the basement in a bin. Andrew ran downstairs and selected a small one since the recipe only called for a speck. With or without the skin, Andrew wondered. He chose a big blue glass. He'd start with just 1 glassful and then drink another if he wanted more freckles. No point in overdoing it the first time. That's what his mother always said. Now, first the grape juice, Andrew thought. He filled the glass halfway and added an ice cube. All drinks tasted better cold, and he was sure this one would. Then he added the other ingredients, 1 by 1. His mother had 2 kinds of vinegars. Wine vinegar and plain vinegar. Andrew picked the wine one. And then he put in some hot mustard, 1 spoonful of mayonnaise, and plenty of pepper and salt. Then some ketchup. That was hard to pour. What about the olive oil? His mother had vegetable oil, but not olive oil. Maybe that stuff that looked like water in the olive jar was what Sharon meant? And here's a picture of him pinching his nose so he doesn't have to smell it, and with a glass in his hand, getting ready to drink it. He put in a few spoonfuls of that. Now for the lemon. Andrew cut one in half and squeezed. Oh no, a seed dropped in by mistake. He picked it out with a spoon. He hated pips in his juice. Now all he needed was that speck of onion and he was all set. He stirred up the drink and smelled it. Oh, it smelled awful, just plain awful. He'd have to hold his nose whilst he drank it. He stuck his tongue into the glass to taste it. Ugh, ick, terrible. He didn't know how he would ever manage to get it down. And fast too. It said to drink it very fast. That old Sharon, she probably thought he wouldn't be able to drink it. Well, he'd show her. He'd drink it all right. Andrew held his nose, tilted his head back and gulped down Sharon's secret recipe for Freckle Juice. Oh, he felt like throwing up. It was that bad. But if he didn't, he'd never get freckles. He would be strong. Andrew crept into his mother's room. He didn't feel well enough to walk. He sat down on the floor in front of the full-length mirror. He waited for something to happen. Chapter 4. Pretty soon something happened all right. Andrew turned greenish and felt very sick. His stomach hurt. Oh. At 4 o'clock, Mrs. Marcus came home. "Yoo-hoo, Andrew, where are you?" she called. Andrew heard her, but he couldn't answer. He was too weak. He made a small noise. Oh. "Andrew Marcus, is that you?" His mother stood in the doorway of her bedroom. "What are you doing in here? I told you to play outside. And why didn't you change your clothes? Didn't I say to change your clothes?" Andrew made another noise. Oh. Mrs. Marcus looked at his face. "Andrew, you're green." "Absolutely green. Are you sick?" Andrew nodded. He was afraid if he opened his mouth, he'd lose the freckle juice. "What hurts?" Mrs. Marcus asked, feeling his forehead. Andrew moaned and held his stomach. "Oh my, appendicitis. Oh, you must have an appendicitis. I'm going to call the doctor. No, I better just drive straight to the hospital. No, I'll call an ambulance." Andrew shook his head, but his mother didn't notice. She said, "Don't move. I'm going into the kitchen to phone. I'll be right back." Andrew rolled around, moaning. Mrs. Marcus came back to her bedroom in a hurry. "Andrew Marcus, I've just seen that mess in the kitchen. Did you or did you not make something and eat it?" Uh-oh, he forgot to clean up. Now she knew. Well, he didn't care. His stomach was killing him. "Well, young man, I'm surprised at you. Surprised. Mrs. Burrows offered you milk and cookies and you refused. And then you come home and you made yourself an I don't know what and scared me half to death thinking you had an appendicitis. I always thought you were more sensible. Andrew, I just can't believe it." Andrew closed his eyes. "Now, young man, you are going to bed." Andrew thought that was the best idea he'd heard in a long time. Mrs. Marcus gave him 2 spoonfuls of pink stuff that tasted like peppermint and then tucked him into bed. Maybe the freckles would come out when he was sleeping. Right now, he didn't care much if they ever came out. He hated Sharon. She'd done it on purpose, just to get his 50 cents. He'd show her. She'd be sorry one day. He drifted off to sleep. He had terrible dreams. A big green monster made him drink 2 quarts of freckle juice 3 times a day. And every time he drank it, the monster got freckles, but Andrew didn't. And there's a picture here of the monster with freckles and Andrew in bed. Andrew woke up sweaty. His stomach still felt funny. His mother gave him 2 more spoonfuls of that pink stuff and he fell asleep again. The next day, Andrew stayed home from school. He only looked in the mirror once. No freckles. He wasn't surprised. At noon, he drank some hot tea. He wasn't ever going back to school. Sharon wasn't going to see him without freckles. She thought she was so great. Well, she wasn't going to get the chance to laugh at him. No, sir. But the following day, his mother woke him up and sang, "Time for school, rise and shine. Come on, don't forget to wash your neck and behind your ears." She pulled the covers off him. "I'm not going to school today," Andrew said. "I'm never going to school again." He hid his head under the pillow. "Oh, so I've got a school dropout in 2nd grade. Well, we'll have to do something about that. Here are your clothes. I want to see you up and dressed before I count to 15, or you're going to have to take 3 baths a day, every day for the next 10 years. Andrew got dressed. He ate a breakfast bun and drank some milk, but he couldn't let Sharon get away with it. He had to do something. Chapter 5. After breakfast, Andrew raced back to his bedroom. He opened his desk drawer and looked for a brown magic marker. But all he could find was a blue one. It was getting late. Blue would have to do. He put the magic marker in his lunchbox. Oh, a magic marker is like a felt tip pen. That's how Americans call a felt tip pen. It's a cool name though, magic marker. It's a bit more magnificent than a felt tip. He put the magic marker in his lunchbox and headed for school. He stopped 2 blocks before he got there. He studied his reflection in a car window. Then he took out the magic marker and he decorated his whole face and neck with blue dots. Actually, there's a picture here as well of him doing that in the car window. Maybe they didn't look like Nicky Lane's freckles, but they sure looked like something. Andrew waited for the second bell, until the second bell rang. Then he hurried to class and sat down. He took out a book and tried to read it. He heard a lot of whispering, but he didn't look up. Miss Kelly snapped her fingers. "Let's settle down, children. Stop chattering." Everybody giggled. "What's so funny?" "Just what's so funny? Lisa, can you tell me the joke?" Lisa stood up. "It's Andrew, Miss Kelly. Just look at Andrew Marcus." "Stand up, Andrew. Let me have a look at you," Miss Kelly said. Andrew stood up. "Good heavens, Andrew. What have you done to yourself?" "I grew freckles, Miss Kelly. That's what." Andrew knew his blue dots looked silly, but he didn't care. He turned towards Sharon and stuck out his tongue. Sharon made a frog face at him. I think that's like this. Miss Kelly took a deep breath. "I see. You may sit down, Andrew. Let's get on with the morning work." At recess, Nicky Lane turned around and said, "Whoever heard of blue freckles?" Andrew didn't answer. He sat in class all day with his blue freckles. A couple of times Miss Kelly looked at him, kind of funny, but she didn't say anything. Then at 2 o'clock, she called him to her desk. "Andrew," Miss Kelly said, "how would you like to use my secret formula for removing freckles?" Her voice was low, but not so low that the class couldn't hear. "For free?" Andrew asked. "Oh, yes," said Miss Kelly, "for free." Andrew scratched his head and thought it over. Miss Kelly took out a small package from her desk. She handed it to Andrew. "Now, don't open this until you get to the boys' room. Remember, it's a secret formula, okay?" "Okay," Andrew said. He wanted to run to the boys' room, but he knew the rules, no running in the halls, so he walked as fast as he could. He couldn't wait to see what was in the package. Could there really be such a thing as freckle remover? As soon as he was inside the boys' room, he unwrapped the package. There was a note. Andrew read it. It said, "Turn on water, wet magic freckle remover and rub into face. Rinse. If magic freckle remover does not work first time, try again. 3 times should do the job. Miss Kelly." And there he is in the boys' changing room, reading the note and washing his face. Ha! Miss Kelly knew. She knew all the time. She knew his freckles weren't really freckles, but she didn't tell. Andrew followed Miss Kelly's directions. The magic freckle remover formula smelled like lemons. Andrew had to use it 4 times to get his freckles off. Then he wrapped it up and walked back to his classroom. Miss Kelly smiled. Well, Andrew, I see it worked. Yes, Miss Kelly, it sure did. You look fine, Andrew, now. You know, I think you're a handsome boy without freckles. You do? Yes, I do. Miss Kelly! Miss Kelly! Nicky Lane called out, raising his hand and waving it all around. Miss Kelly! What is it, Nicky? Miss Kelly asked. Could I use the magic freckle remover? Could I, Miss Kelly? I hate my freckles. I hate every single one of them. Andrew couldn't believe it. How could Nicky hate his freckles? They were so neat. Nicky, Miss Kelly said, Andrew didn't look good with freckles. But you look wonderful. I'd hate to see you without them. They're part of you, so I'm going to put away the magic formula, and I hope I never have to use it again. Well, Andrew thought, she'd never have to use it on him. He was through with freckles. Then the class lined up to go home, and Andrew heard Sharon whisper to Nicky, Psst, I know how to get rid of them. Get rid of what? Nicky asked. Your freckles. You do? Sure. The secret recipe for removing freckles has been in my family for years. That's how come none of us have any. I'll sell it to you for 50 cents. Then Sharon walked up alongside Andrew. And before Andrew could say a word, Sharon made a super duper frog face just for him. And there's Sharon doing her frog face. And that's the end. That's the end of Freckle Juice. Do you want freckles? Would you make a magic potion? Do you have freckles and you want to get rid of them? What do you think was that special magic formula that Miss Kelly had? Smelled like lemon? Maybe a piece of lemon soap. I don't know. But Sharon sure is smart, isn't she? She's making money from all her classmates. I like this book. It makes me laugh. And it makes me think about the things that I want to change and that I can't change. And you just got to live with them. Judy Blume has lots of books for kids, say 7, 8 years old and going right up to teenagers. So keep an eye out for Judy Blume's books. Bye.